A very good evening and welcome to this edition of the Fourth Estate. Charles Mwangushampagi, and it's been a packed political week. Negotiations in London about to agree on a joint candidate for the opposition and an attempt to revive the idea that is called the Democratic Alliance, or TDA. Besigye and Mbabazi held negotiations in London, which have at least been confirmed that actually did hold those negotiations. Bishop Zach Niringiye was one of the people there. Nandala Mafabi was one of the people there. And they're about to announce, we are waiting to see what happens tomorrow, if they actually come out and announce that Besigye and Mbabazi have finally agreed to run on a joint ticket. The National Resistance Movement, earlier today, actually the first item on the agenda was to approve and endorse the party flag bearer. And President Museveni, without debate and by unanimous decision of the National Delegates Conference, agreed to endorse President Museveni as the party flag bearer. He was also endorsed without contestation as the party chairman for the next 5 years. The national vice chairman, Alhaji Moses Chigongo, was agreed on. And the first deputy national chairman, I think, that's what they call it, chairperson, is Rebecca Alitwala Kadaga. There was a negotiated settlement on who becomes national vice chairperson for Eastern Uganda, national vice chairperson for Buganda. There's supposed to be one for Central and one for Western Uganda. Those are the ones that were a little bit more contentious. But that is coming out of a very contentious and interesting primaries selection process. The most complaints actually emerging out of the youth and special interest groups. The youth have actually had a much bitter fight. We had lots of fights and lots of people falling on the wayside. Most prominent among them, Ministers Kahinda Otafire, General Kahinda Otafire, Minister Daudi Migereko, and quite a long list of others who were not able to make it back. That's what we'll be discussing tonight on the Fourth Estate. A very long preamble. Let me start by introducing veteran journalist, formerly public relations officer, senior public relations officer at the Electoral Commission of Uganda. You're a very senior journalist at the New Vision, then served at the Electoral Commission and served elsewhere. You've since turned into a lawyer and a consultant. Peter Okello Jabweli, very nice to have you.
Thank you, Charles. Good evening, viewers. I'm happy to be here.
Brad Rulinda makes a return. Brad Fabrice Rulinda is a communications specialist, has been doing communications at an international level and a regional level. Brad, very nice to have you.
Very nice to be back here. Good evening, viewers.
You deal with strategy. Last time you were here, you told us, largely strategy. So you'll tell us if the public relations of both the Mbabazi Go Forward Camp and the FDC on the landed deal have gone the way they should have gone from a public relations standpoint, and whether the endorsement of President Museveni by the National Delegates Conference on the PR side, they're doing the right job. You're also supposed to be a candidate in Entebbe municipality in the primaries. The last time we talked, but you're not on the card. You're not on the ballot when the election happened on Tuesday.
Thank God I was not on the ballot, because as you can see, things have turned a bit sour. So I think the direction I took was the right one. Yes.
Okay. And from the New Vision, or Vision Group, David Tash Lumu is a journalist. Very nice to have you, David.
Thank you, Charles, and I wish our viewers an interesting show. As already showed some gestures of fear that he chickened out of the NRM contestation. Maybe he has his eyes on 2021, I don't know.
No, actually, he has his eyes on 2016.
There's a difference between strategy and chickening out.
Let me start with you, Peter Jabweli. You've been watching politics in this country for quite closely. Let's start with Mbabazi and Besigye. Where they are, if they actually do come out and make an announcement tomorrow that they're running a joint ticket, does that deliver them, because there's a power sharing agreement from what we hear has been the negotiation, if they agree and they're going to run together? Both of them have booked to be nominated by the Electoral Commission. The nominations will take place on Tuesday and Wednesday. Do you think that will deliver them and create the two-horse race and the big challenge for President Museveni?
Yes, Charles, thank you very much. I think that, first of all, any unified front to the incumbent president would offer a more formidable challenge to the grip on power by the NRM. So that's, for me, if they agreed to come together and work as a coalition or under a unified strategy, one candidate, they would offer a more formidable campaign and stand a good chance of either upsetting the balance finally in favor of the opposition. But questions remain about the process, how they have gone about it. You're saying you're expecting an announcement tomorrow. Tomorrow would be the 2nd, and hardly 24 hours. JPAM is expected to be in Nambole. He has booked a date to be nominated, and basically I think if you forget about the shenanigans they had with the Electoral Commission about who booked what date, and basically should also have been
nominated
on the Tuesday, 24 hours really from whenever the announcement comes. So that has issues already from my reading of the situation, especially from social media. The political bases from which these two people come from are not in agreement. For one, I have noted that the people that support Kiza, the FDC people, seem not to buy into the idea that Besigye should be anything but a candidate. That should be the candidate, that a TDA process should result in Besigye as the candidate and not the other way around. Now,
because FDC has already endorsed him as a flag bearer.
Yes, after a very elaborate process. So that's what that camp, and they are very acidic and very, very firm about the fact that after that kind of democratic process that Besigye has gone through, he should not just surrender the FDC flag or the possibility of challenging the president again, especially in the context of a boardroom meeting not held in Uganda but far away. So that is one. The other side, on the other side, the Amama camp, the Go Forward camp, unfortunately, I don't know who are the strategists there. They don't. I don't feel them coming out, giving we're dealing with a candidate. I think by the nature of his work, a prospective candidate who is very methodious. I think doesn't issue statements out of turn, takes his time. The supporters are guessing what's going on. One day to nomination, things are not clear. For me, that kind of thing demobilizes the support bases of either camp and working against them. In
essence, Fabrice, what Peter Jabweli is saying is that you are handing Museveni, you have let him run. Yes, there was contestation about the NRM primaries and the process that has actually made him a candidate. From what I know, and the show we did last week here, is that process is going to be challenged in court. When he gets nominated, that's going to be challenged. So the process is on the side. The strategy, what is the thinking between Kiza Besigye and what is the position of his party, the Forum for Democratic Change, to make an alliance after he's been handed a flag by his party to join the Besigye and Mbabazi camp? And can that actually deliver either of them or both of them to State House?
Thank you, Charles. I think, in my opinion, one, the opposition at this time, or TDA, has had one big flaw, and that big flaw has been containing their information. There has been, almost in every step that they've taken, information has leaked before the official announcement. The other thing, I think that, as Jabez just said here, that there are things that are going to be hard sell for them, which I see that could actually result into the NRM benefiting from that anger from the actual supporters. Because there are those core supporters that you're not going to sit and tell them that Besigye should back somebody else up, even if you tell them that's how they will win. Why do I think that? I think there are those people who say, I'd rather not vote at all. Because you have to remember that there are people that are in FDC that will tell you straight up that they would never vote for Besigye and Mbabazi. And there are people in Go Forward who will tell you that they will never support Besigye. So it's going to be a hard sell. Other than that, if it is actually the plan, it should be an interesting one. It should be something that if it would be interesting to watch, because from my analysis, Dr. Kizza Besigye is not one that is going to go and rally behind somebody else.
Why do you think so?
From experience, my observation during his Mugisha Muntu's tenure, he stayed away, and when time came to run, he came and ran, and you could tell that there was a bit of I want this from him. There was a representation of I want this to happen. It has to happen for me. Now, that said, if honestly there was this agreement that he's decided he's going to back up the Right Honorable Mbabazi, it's going to be an interesting one. And as NRM, I should think there's going to be a challenge, because that's a combined force. My brother here just talked about the fact that yes, a combined force is always hard to fight. But that said, if NRM stayed on its path, if NRM just cleared some few issues here and there, it would be, they would have their work cut out for them.
Do you think President Museveni's work is cut out by this attempt at an alliance?
Yeah, yes and no. Yes, because historically the alliance kind of concept, political concept in this country has not always worked to deliver the intended goals. You remember the Kabaka Ekayu peace alliances. Now this TDA, fast forward, you look at the key players, they all don't want to seize ground. They think they can, each of them of course has their own merits politically to challenge the NRM candidate. But for you to galvanize the forces of change in the country, you need to even look at the substantive things happening in the country. So many people might not look at the alliance as a route to change. They need some other factors to cook up that change, so that the country gets in the mood of change. Yes, you might ally, and of course they are making a mistake of starting to share out government positions. But key issues in Uganda are not about sharing government positions when you take power. There are issues like the Northern Uganda question. You have to start the debate now. You have a whole generation of people who need shrinks to survive in society. Trained shrinks, psychiatrists, a lost generation. Then you have the Karamoja question, where people are yearning for something tangible. Then you have the Buganda question. Of course, President Museveni tried to solve it by bringing Ebyafe. So the debate within the opposition alliance must shift from power sharing to handling the key issues that Ugandans want. The issue of oil. No one is tabling a tangible solution to how we are going to benefit from the resource. But we are seeing a contestation of who takes what. You become prime minister. You've alluded to the London talks, and you've read the documents. Each of the camps is saying, if I take the flag, this one will become second vice.
One will become prime minister, then you have deputy prime ministers and stuff like that. But let me jump to you. Who benefits out of the chaotic NRM primaries? Is there a chance that someone can actually reap from the chaos in the NRM primaries?
Just before I get to that, on the question of the Mbabazi Besigye, what again I see in it is the perennial problem of the opposition in this country. Investing resources at the wrong ends. It is a top-down arrangement. Once again, they are going to put all the resources at the level of presidency. Okay? Your guess is as good as mine. Whether that is a viable and a feasible plan, rather, this delayed decision making about Mbabazi and so on, how does it affect the rest of the positions, parliament, the local councils? How will, even if Besigye and Amama agreed at the top, so what happens to Rubaga North?
Where Kami and Kasivante are contesting?
the people, the lower levels, the lower ranks seem to have been left on their own, and it's going to be messy. You're going to lose even what was supposedly secure opposition seats may go, because a lot of the thinking is going at the level of president.
And forgetting about
we
the
are likely,
fundamentals.
even if one of them became president, we're likely to have, given that the NRM, as they keep saying, they're a mass party, and we've just seen they've done an election in the whole country. The question of mass can be discussed. Why people go to NRM, all of them, because the chances of getting resources, chances of getting state machinery to back you, chances of winning are in NRM. Tomorrow, if NRM and state structures are, then NRM will not be a mass party. But for now, the opposition must contend.
Before you take the break, if you could respond to that question, because I want to pick it up with the gentleman once we come out of the break. Who reaps out of this chaos in the NRM?
Yes.
Do you think anybody stands to actually benefit?
Yes, there would be a good chance for the opposition, especially JPAM, because JPAM has an umbilical cord in the NRM, as he himself keeps saying. So he says it's still NRM, except NRM that is moving forward.
I like this.
And then there's an NRM perhaps which is stuck. Okay?
There's an NRM he promoted of no change.
So his NRM is being the Secretary General for NRM for too long. Okay? So he knows the structures of NRM. He knows the people there. They know him. He is, of the two, between him and Besigye, he is more likely, because I know that within the NRM, the die-hard supporters of NRM, not many of them would jump into the Besigye camp, but they may go with Mama Mbabazi. But only if,
I think the clincher there is
the only thing, they can only benefit from that if they see that there is a good opportunity, there is a likely chance of Mama, that platform of Go Forward, getting power.
But there's some contention about that as well, gentlemen. What you use the right word, maybe. For the last over 3 elections, consistently, Kizza Besigye has posted at least 2 million votes. The first time he challenged President Museveni, the margin between them was less than 4 million. The second time he challenged President Museveni, the margin between them was less than 4 million. The third time he challenged President Museveni in 2011, yes, he dropped in numbers to a low 2,068,000 votes. President Museveni grew his numbers to 5,000,000.4. So the gap kind of a little bit widened. But he has a consistency that actually you can guarantee and say this is where he starts from. For the last 2 years, Mama Mbabazi has been leading people to guess what his actual plan is, who his supporters are. Yes, he did a few rallies in eastern Uganda, in Soroti, in Kapchorwa, and in Jinja. And Mbale. And that was showing like he has some mass support. But who stood on the podium with him? So can we say that he stands to reap from the chaos in the NRM without, the elections ended on Tuesday. The results were out on Wednesday. Pardon?
Some people voted.
Yes, some people voted on Thursday, Friday. Now is Sunday. The delegates conference is happening. We are not seeing any major announcements coming out. Will they come out tomorrow? Will they be on Tuesday? Let's pick that up after a short commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching the Fourth Estate, and we're discussing the many events, the political processes. Will it actually turn out into a two-horse race between Yoweri Museveni and whoever is decided upon between Kizza Besigye and Mama Mbabazi? And like I said at the beginning, we're likely to have an announcement tomorrow on what is going to happen in that camp, whether the FDC hands over its flag bearer to join the Go Forward camp with Mama Mbabazi in that power sharing agreement that they have agreed on. After a series of meetings, one was held in Nairobi under the auspices of Raila Odinga, who's an opposition leader there, and another meeting that was held under the auspices of the Kofi Annan Foundation as mediator to try and agree on positions. Of course, there is a debate on this parceling out of positions ahead of everything else. Let me come to you, David, before I come to Tash. Before I come to Fabrice. The question about the fallout in the NRM, in the NRM primaries, and whether anybody is prepared to take advantage of that. Jabweli raises a very important point, which is perennially the opposition does not plan for other positions.
Yeah.
It focuses on the presidency. They did that in 1996 with Paul Kawanga Semogerere, took them nowhere. Did that in 2001 with Kizza Besigye under the reform agenda. Did it again in 2006 with a myriad of presidential candidates from the political parties, because we had opened up the political space for political parties contest. So you had a whole array of political contenders, but the fundamentals at the other levels, who occupies parliament, how do you take advantage of parliament?
Local councils.
Local councils. Museveni has done a good job to gerrymander these and manipulate and create all these little tiny entities that
create
become
new districts,
constituencies, and therefore expand the pool, that even if the opposition was to reap some more members of parliament, they cannot match in terms of overall gain. The net gain, the NRM will have an advantage.
Actually, the statistics of this parliament shows that independents are more, actually, more than the parties combined, except a few by-elections that added the numbers of opposition. So I foresee more independents, not people crossing to JPAM side and others, but
and to FDC camp and
yes,
UPC
like
and
Jabwell is saying, because people still don't understand the dynamics of JPAM camp and Besigye. Those talks are still very, very clandestine for the local politicians to weigh in and say, let me cross to this camp and stand on this ticket. But he raises that important point of splitting or trickling down the alliance to local councils and others. But even there, at the ground level, people don't really understand this alliance thing. So for you to hammer it down, you remember the IP saw it gave birth to Suvi and other pressure groups. For you to break it down for a politician who is looking for survival, that you have to ally to join parliament, and no, they don't understand the dynamics. That's why.
Isn't that at a higher level, Tash? The basic level, in my own layman's interpretation, would be that the FDC would already be having strong candidates and capacity to field a candidate in every elective position available. Uganda People's Congress, if it's part of the alliance, would be prepared to have a candidate in every available elective position. The same with the Democratic Party. But what you see is Norbert Mao, President General of the DP, declaring support for Amama Mbabazi. Now he has to declare support for a joint ticket of Amama Mbabazi and Kizza Besigye if the alliance.
You remember the Ruel by-election that brought now Kenya. DP won at the MP level, but there were local government positions that DP could not even field a candidate. So it pointed to a bigger problem for opposition parties. Yes, you might say the environment is a bit cruel for them to mobilize and people to declare that FDC or so forth. People kind of fear, but at a local level, really, you should be able, if you have structures, to debate these alliances. But like I've told you, the thinking among MPs is that if I'm popular, let's say you alluded to the NRM primaries, if someone feels he's popular, really, he will go independent. He will not think about the party ideology that let me withdraw for the case or concede for the case of NRM. They always want to try it and see. Yes.
Fabrice, why, for example, didn't you decide? I understand you might run as an independent.
I am running as an independent.
Yes. Why didn't you, for example, consider running on a ticket of another organization that already is in existence if you found that the chaos in the NRM primaries wasn't your cup of cake? I mean, cup of tea.
Gentlemen, let's be very clear about this. Independents have existed before JPAM became a presidential candidate. Independents have existed in all these past parliaments that we've had. So somebody going independent does not mean he has joined JPAM. 2, party primaries, I don't care what party you're going to tell me about, have been chaotic in all parties. You saw what happened in Ambole. You saw for the FDC's delegates conference. You've seen it happen over and over. You saw what happened in Katomi when the DP people met, and you've seen people walk away. Now, those people walking away doesn't necessarily mean that those people have joined Japan.
No, my question.
Here-
actually, no,
here-
my
here's
question is
what I
clear.
think.
My question is
I
clear.
honestly
Why
believe
don't you choose
to run for another
to
party or another
join
camp?
an outfit that already exists
Okay.
as a party member who feels disgruntled, but choose to run as an
I'm not
independent?
disgruntled with the party. I am disgruntled with the process that they took. This particular election, as you have seen, had a lot of weaknesses and shortcomings. Now, here's what the party should have done. David just talked about a very interesting thing. When somebody is strong and you see him leave the table and going to join, to stand alone and run, what the party should be doing is you call him and you talk to him about what he should do or how things should move. Now, what we have been doing as a party, and I'm going to speak for NRM as a member, the other day the Secretary General said, if you go independent, you're being expelled from, and please, I'm not paraphrasing, but in the line of you'll be expelled from the party or you cease to be a member.
But
of
you
the NRM.
constitution.
You know that
Okay.
she was. You
Now-
know that she was joking.
No,
As
no,
far as I do, because
well,
It's
here's
not
the
a
problem.
joke, it's
Now
a
here's the problem.
constitutional mandate.
Now you have put Fabrice there. Now he is loose meat. That means anybody can come and grab me because you have basically
why
kicked me out.
isn't anybody able to grab you?
But you
That's the
see,
question.
That's the thing. My love or my stand for the party, as you said, Mr. The Right Honourable John Patrick Amama Mbabazi still stands firm and says he is NRM. He is not running on the NRM ticket, but he is NRM. Now, if he can stand for president as an independent, but NRM go forward, pressure group. You have to accept that he probably sees that the party under which or where he came from, he has the love for it, and he wants to be a part of it.
The NRM thinks otherwise. Jabili, let me bring into this discussion. Why stand on the fence and not decide? If you look at, I'll give you two recent incidents. One was the Supreme Court ruling of Friday, in the case of the rebel MPs. Theodore Sechikubo, Muhammad Nsereko, Barnabas Tinkasimire, Wilfred Nwagaba. Now, they have indicated they can hold their views as they want. But the question is, then the other thing is, the NRM, right from the beginning, worked very hard, very fast, very efficiently to push Amama Mbabazi away, as far away as possible, until you stand there, you don't belong here. And they succeeded in that. You've seen the letter that IGP Kale Kaihura has written to say Amama Mbabazi is booking to hold a procession and a rally on the day he gets nominated on Tuesday, and he can't hold it because the Public Order Management Act is against him. The question is, why do people want to stand on the fence rather than declare and cross over? Because is it the weakness of the individual political parties that they have not built the sufficient capacity to attract people to feel you can find a better home? Lowassa did it, gave Magufuli a run for his money, even if Magufuli has won. What creates that?
Yeah, I think it is the nature of our politics again. Could be the history of the country, the turmoil, the years of turmoil, the people going to exile, the people who are murdered and so on. Because again, it's only in Uganda, I think, in this region, where somebody can emerge from university without having done any job in life, comes a member of parliament, and tomorrow they've earned 25 million, 30 million, and you know, so the kind of politicians we have are fickle. A lot of the people passing off as politicians and leaders are people without a spine.
They are not mahogany, they are
yes,
papaya.
and for as long as the NRM is in power, it has the state machinery, the resources, I'm sure the delegates in Nambola are well facilitated.
The delegates in any delegates conference are facilitated.
Yes, I hope so. Okay, the war chest available to NRM is unmatchable. You know, so as long as the NRM, the action is in the NRM, that if you hold the flag of NRM, for example, in many of the places in the country, you're as good as dry. I don't know whether FDC...
There's a challenge about that, gentlemen. There's an issue about that. No one, at least for those social media group people elites that discuss in nice hangout places at these shopping malls and places, would have expected that Kahindo Tafire would fall in Ruhinda. Actually,
And
a lot of
somebody in jail.
people were surprised. Defeated by a guy who was actually in prison.
That's true.
And
A man called Kahonda. There is interesting
Yeah.
banter on when you put together when you do the local language. There's a lot of banter, interesting banter going on social media, because when Kahinda went to contest for the first time, he said Terra Kahinda Ruhinde Hinde, and you vote for Kahinda so that Ruhinda can roar. Now the guy who has defeated him is called Kahonda. And people are saying Kahonda Ahonzire Kahinda, something like that. And there is that banter. You have the deputy, the Minister of State for Works here in Busoga, in Jinja, who has fallen by the wayside. You have Daudi Migereko, the Minister for Agriculture, for Lands, who has fallen on the wayside. You have all these ministers who have fallen, and that was not expected because they had a bigger war chest. They were seen to be more NRM than the upstarts, sorry to use the word, the upstarts that have come up. And you would expect that someone sitting somewhere strategically, could be Jepam, could be Kizza Besigye, could have been Norbert Mao, or maybe representing the institutions, who are praying these people off the NRM and take them into their corner.
Yes, I'm sure there will be a few people. I don't know what numbers, whether there will be an avalanche or some, but there will be a few people who will for sure cross over the next few days.
Where?
From NRM as a result of the primaries. You see, the primaries were on Tuesday, this week.
Some of them on Tuesday, some of them on Wednesday, yes.
The fallout is still going on. You know, there is NRM has instituted committees for reconciliation and so on. The whole purpose of this is to make sure these people are talked into, not looking over the window and jumping into other camps. And you know, the president has been clear about this, that in my father's house, in my house, there are many rooms.
There's no father ahead of him.
There are many rooms. You know, those that toe the line and behave after we've lost an election is a way to manage. And this survival politics, so a lot of people, they are watching, especially this reconciliation, the tribunals and so on and so on. But where the election was very close, say 13,000, 20,000, and the other has 21, and a lot of that either will go as independent, and now that there's independent NRM as a presidential candidate, they are likely to go with that.
The question you're not answering is why does it turn out that way? Because
the machinery of NRM is still the force to reckon with. If you want to do politics the next 5 years.
Which NRM? Is it the Go Forward NRM? Is it the Plot 10 Chad on the Road NRM?
NRM that is NRM. Because
NRM Museveni?
Yes.
NRM
the one that has the resources, that has the state. We have been told that Mama has money and so on. A lot of people, I think the campaign structure, the earlier people are so excited, have been waiting. They don't see messages. They don't see... You know, it's a bit, the way the campaign is running, I think it comes from a mama's background in security, intelligence. You keep people guessing. That demobilizes.
I've heard some people denigratingly call, say their mama, one, the money, the organizational efficiency and the structures is the hot comb, the hot comb of those tales we used to read in primary school. But the others think what's going to happen with some of the recent contenders in the NRM primaries. Some are declaring they want to run as independent, maybe to raise the negotiation value with President Museveni. The NRM has done this before. They did it in 2011. They did it in 2006.
No, I didn't run the primary.
They did it in 2006. When people are aggrieved and they are likely to win, the NRM steps back. It happened in Kianjojo district for the district chairperson. The NRM had a candidate. There was a strong independent in the name of James Byamukama. President Museveni went there. They asked him, what is the position of the party? And he said, on those things, no position. Is that going to happen again? Maybe. Let's pick this up after a short commercial break. segment of the fourth estate, and we're discussing these processes. Nominations are set for Tuesday and Wednesday. President Museveni will be nominated first. Mbabazi will be nominated. Is set to be nominated on the same day as President Museveni, I think. I think also Professor Venantius Bariamareva has booked to be nominated then. Kizza Besigye was pushed to the 4th, which will be Wednesday, by the Electoral Commission. They said the day he had booked earlier had been already booked by the NRM candidate. And you see that interesting letter from Inspector General of Police Kale Kaihura, and another equally interesting letter from the Secretary General of the National Resistance Movement, Justin Kasule Lumumba, which books from, I think they started booking yesterday through until the 3rd. And Kaihura says, we do not have capacity to police both events. Have you seen the letter, Tash?
Yes, I've read the letter. It is a tricky situation for police.
Why tricky?
Because the public out there will see them as, first of all, part of the system, which is right. You can't
It's an independent body.
Secondly, the JPAM camp has not come out to explain the negotiations they had with police. Did they tick the boxes of the Public Order Management Act?
I see Section 4.1 and Section 5.1 being quoted in the letter. So the Public Order Management Act, notification to the police, and then the police
then
clearing.
The IGP is introducing a new term, procession.
To mean a public meeting.
Well, procession cannot be a public meeting.
Procession.
The interpretation in that letter is procession means a public meeting, and therefore
it is not defined
within Public Order Management Act.
So the JPAM camp has to define what procession they are going to make. It might be wrong for police to stop the procession, but if you are going to be nominated in Nambola and you start the procession in the middle of town, you must lay down the possible criteria you are using to kickstart the process. So, because IGP might quote a lot of things if you start in town. What if you start your procession from Chireka? If you change the game.
Last time in 2011, processions could be allowed from Chireka, around the flyover, as you head to Nambole.
Exactly.
And once you come back, you're not allowed a procession. But the candidate they have been allowed to go with 20 supporters for the nomination. They will have possible convoys that join them later. The interesting thing with that letter that I've seen, Jabweli, maybe you could come in here. The interesting thing I've seen on that letter is, it says, one, the NRM has previously booked for similar activities. And it says, all major routes entering into the city. And therefore, we cannot be able to do this. There are two questions that emerge there. One, is Inspector General of Police Kale Kaihura and the police force as an institution playing a role bigger than they should be playing? And where is the balance of power and authority over policing campaigns for this election between the Electoral Commission and the police? You served at the Electoral Commission?
Yes, true. I worked at the Electoral Commission for 4 years. I'm well versed with the law on elections and the processes at the Electoral Commission. I can say without fear of contradiction that I don't remember then, that was around 2005 to 2008. So the 2005 referendum and 2006 general elections, I was there, right in the center of it. I do not remember the level of involvement of the police like it is now. For me, the evolution, the way we are moving, the way things are moving, do not portend well. Elections, at the basic level, are supposed to be a civil affair. Okay? The police should be playing a facilitative role. Okay? And not
issuing edicts.
Edicts and putting roadblocks for other contenders to reach the voters. Even the person that loves the NRM most, at least for him, is a self-confessed NRM. You would love to win an election that's credible. You would love to win an election where your opponents have a fair chance to put out their views. the Constitution of Uganda calls for free and fair elections. Not any sort of elections, elections that are free and fair. The Supreme Court of Uganda, in the case of Besigye and the Museveni and the Electoral Commission, went to great lengths to define at least what constitutes a free and fair. So we have it in our in the jurisprudence of Uganda. What the conditions must be such that the voter is accorded an opportunity to make a choice from an informed point of view. So if you tell me that when Mbabazi or Besigye or whatever the other candidates get from in Nambola after they are nominated, the venues, for example, I had the phone of my good friend saying anyone should forget about the Independence Grounds.
Kololo.
Okay, that is supposed to be a public place, supposedly open for every. Anyone
should forget. I thought the NRM special interests were in.
Yes, it is for only NRM, and no one had him with my. Then now you're telling me that Amama somehow secured the. Nachivubo, but then he cannot move there in a procession because the police say they don't have the numbers. Again,
the police says they have not been notified. They say
they
should follow the process, he should follow the law and notify the police as required by the Public Order Management Act and give them time to be able to.
First of all, Charles, how have the police known that he intends to be there?
It's, they received a letter from there's a letter written to KCCA,
yes,
which the police received. Now,
was copied too.
Yes. Now here's the situation. I think let's give the police a chance to see how this plays out. You have 3 days, according to the law. You have 3 days to write and notify the police. So that gives them today, if they possibly wrote today, there's tomorrow, then there's Tuesday. So I think let's give the police a chance. Yes, this letter, like Jabari just said, even as an NRM supporter, I believe everybody should be given chance to air their views and to pick their candidate. Now here's what I don't agree with. I don't agree with the letter being changed, because when you see the letter, the date has been changed with a pen, there's a whitewashing of the stamp. Yes, that happened.
But
yes.
There's a reference.
There's also a reference that says something different. I don't agree with that particular direction. But during these things, when people are going in elections, mistakes are made. Now here is what I'd think. Let the other camp give the police the chance to rectify this. Let them notify them and see if they will refuse them to hold their procession.
You see, the problem I have, when the political parties, the POMA law, that one is, what's the
Public Order Management Act.
The first, there was a statutory instrument issued by Ngurugunda when it was in internal affairs, which gazetted all urban areas in Uganda as places where you cannot...
Instrument number 52, I think.
As areas where you cannot have a public meeting. If you are gathered by 3 of you, you need police clearance and so on. I fear that even when these people are, after you've been nominated, there might be hurdles all over the place on whether you can even find a venue to, because under the law, you need to have permission of the owner of the venue ahead of time. A lot of places, in Jinja recently, when Mama tried to use, Besigye Mama,
Kakindu
Stadium, somehow the town clerk Jinja had to write and say, no, then the Uganda police, again, of all institutions, Uganda police had booked the venue for months. It's not available.
It's possible.
Now, then all the venues around here in Kampala, I'm being told they are booked.
Yes, and no hotel will allow, actually.
So, we are going to have, and once you don't have permission from the owner of the venue, you can't hold a meeting.
Okay.
So, you're going to have run-ins, and our TVs are going to be, again, having images of police clashing with. So, I don't know.
Do you see, the police has said it does not have the capacity to police these parallel events at the same time. There's, of course, the other candidates who will run. Will the police fail to deploy to block one?
They have the capacity. Of course, it comes up to the public relations team of police. You know, in this whole saga from Rukunjiri Kando, Kakindu, others, the PR of police comes out very ugly. These are simple things to explain to the candidates. If you've taken a stand as IGP, before it comes out, because you've held several meetings with these guys, you discuss nitty-gritties of their activities. After nominations, campaigns start. You can't block rallies, for Christ's sake. So you need to kind of come into an agreement. And you saw the meetings they had with Ndugurugunda, key opposition figures and others at OPM. Some of us thought they had agreed the workable kind of relationship police should have with other contenders. But if you come out to block a certain individual, the whole public sees you as someone who is totally on one side, which is wrong.
Jeremy, let me put this
for
question.
Police.
Yes, let me put this question as we try to bring this show to an end. You have President Museveni's nomination by endorsement of the Delegates Conference today happening after he's received a certificate from the Electoral Commission that okayed that nomination. The Electoral Commission issued a statement and a certificate to the candidate and said, you're clear to be nominated, when he had not yet secured the requirement of the NRM Electoral Commission, the NRM Constitution, for him to get to be nominated by the Delegates Conference. That just happened today. You have, so that's being challenged. You have other challenges on the way. You have a Mbabazi, and nobody is sure whether he will actually be nominated or not nominated because of some of these things that have been happening lately, and whether they will agree whether Kizza Besigye will be on the ballot or not on the ballot, either as a running mate or as an independent flag bearer for the Forum for Democratic Change. The big question that's being asked is, will this election happen actually? Start with you, Jabweli.
I would even add the second question: do we actually need this election as a country at this time?
Fabrice.
I doubt. And why do I say doubt? I'm seeing a lot of things coming from all angles. First of all, just to clear on that, the Electoral Commission is an independent body. If they received a letter from the Secretary General of the party saying that President Museveni is their candidate, the Electoral Commission had no reason whatsoever not to nominate him as the president. But why do I say I doubt? I'm seeing a complication, and I'm seeing a gap or a failure on all parties to agree on what would be a way forward for us as a people. In my opinion, even as a candidate, I feel like this particular election is going to be, not if it's there, it's going to be a very tough one. But, like you said, do we really need to go into this chaos as it is?
David, what's your take? Will this election happen?
If you look at the three major contenders, it reminds me of the Fronasa operation. Very clandestine, very underground. So, given that background, at this time another Fronasa person has emerged on the scene to challenge Museveni. There is a huge likelihood that he might delay the election, or he might cause it not to happen in the due time as we expect.
Because when you look at what is happening, there seems to be the electoral process is at the, I don't know, middle stages, early stages of suffering a multiple organ failure. Things seems to be getting clogged and dysfunctional at every turn. People have been looking for, Jabweli, as someone who worked at the Electoral Commission, do you see the Electoral Commission as asserting itself and taking its rightful place? Because it should be at the center of this. Fabrice says if the Commission received a letter from the Secretary General of the party, when someone went and said, I am going to run as an independent, so I'm notifying you that I'm going to hold consultation meetings, they said, no, go back to your party until it clears you. And now, on another candidate from the same party, they say, okay, we have received notification.
But he did get clearance to do the consultation.
Yes,
you saw the back and forth that happened about that.
Which
they get the clearance, and then I kind of walked back on the clearance.
Yes, Charles, the Electoral Commission, for our viewers out there and people who may not know, despite all the misgivings and what is said out there, I can vouch for the fact that the Electoral Commission is composed of very, very nationalistic and patriotic Ugandans. At least a bulk, most of them. The time I was there, of course, it's been 8 years since I left, so many things could have changed. But when I was there, I can vouch for the people at the Electoral Commission. They mean well, and except I don't know whether it's the overbearing nature of the police and with all this new law there and so on. I see as if they are giving too much ground. The Electoral Commission is enjoined with the duty. It cannot pass that role. The police is supposed to facilitate. Matter of fact, other than where there is a war situation, you don't even need AK-47 at a polling station. In a village setting, if you have
needed that for the 1996 election.
If you have a retired headmaster, retired teacher in a village, 50 years with commands respect, can stand there with a little stick and say, and villagers will fall in line. But I see the EC not asserting itself that much, and this is not limited. The EC, I see institutions letting their mandate. I'd like to see a lot of the other people at the EC, the commission has come out. That hasn't been there. I see the chairman being overburdened. I heard him on radio a few weeks ago being asked very many questions, and I want to see
the other commissioners are absent.
No, I want to see them come up and speak. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, this is the public.
Is fearing to be assassinated.
Yes, Tash insists on the word fear. I don't know why.
No, he made it.
No, he says he's not scared. What actually Dr. Chigundu said, he said he's not scared. He has received threats, but that doesn't move him. And let's give credit where it's due. The EC, especially if you look at some of these elections that have been held, like special interest groups and so on and so forth, they are doing their job. Here's the problem. As human beings, it's very rare for us to be satisfied. Whatever results come out of an election, even as Fabrice, I tell you this, if today somebody came and beat me, more than likely the first thing you're going to do is claim you were cheated. Now here's what I think. I think the Electoral Commission has done its part, but there are certain things like internal politics of parties the Electoral Commission is not supposed to be part of. Now, if Charles, you came to me today and said, here's my certificate from my party, I'm the flag bearer, and you have a letter from your party leadership, I don't see why the EC should stop your nomination.
They've given that explanation. Of course, we'll wait to see what court decides if someone actually does go to court. Gentlemen, our time is out. We need to get out of here. But we'll be watching closely. And the NRM has successfully held its delegates conference today. We'll watch closely for the next 24 hours to see the start of the nomination process in Nambole.
They have been giving the president that position out of consensus. All the time, I don't know why Ugandans are worried.
Which is democratic. That is the consensus.
Of course. Gentlemen, our time is out.
As we bought, we need to thank the team of Tango Dwe. I thought they did a good job. In a short time, with the magnitude of the work, Dr. Tango Dwe and his team, I think they did
a good job. At least you saw ministers crying.
They did a good job. I didn't run, so I can't tell them, but they did a good job where.
You should have complained in about how they conducted the process, because he bowed out early. Thank you very much. Peter Okello Jabweli, thanks very much for making time.
Thank you.
Fabrice Bradrulinda, thank you very much for making the time. And David Tash Lumu. What's this about very long names? All of you have at least 3.
They are very, very creative parents.
Our time is out. We'll be watching closely and keeping you updated. I know that the news team and the production team are working very hard to make sure they bring you everything as it happens from these political processes. If the TDA makes an announcement tomorrow, it will be brought to you, I think, live. If when the nominations start, and we'll be there. So keep it NTV. Have a good night.
Thank you.